In January of 2017, 26-year-old Colin Airy vanished without a trace in Brewer, Maine, and to this day, his disappearance remains one of the state's most baffling mysteries. Colin was described as a kind, intelligent young man. He was about 5'9" with blonde hair, blue eyes, and a distinctive birthmark above his left eye. On January 25, 2017, Colin's stepfather dropped him off at the Brewer Auditorium, also known as the Brewer Civic Center. Colin told his family he was starting a new job in nearby Bangor, but after that moment, he was never seen again. At first, his family believed he might have moved back to New York, where he'd gone to college. Because of that, they didn't report him missing right away. It wasn't until June of 2018, more than a year later, that a missing person report was finally filed. When police began looking into Colin's case, they discovered there was no evidence that he had ever started a new job, and his phone, social media, and bank accounts were all inactive after the day he disappeared. There were no confirmed sightings, no phone calls, and no messages. It was as if Colin simply vanished. Authorities in Maine have searched wooded areas, riverbanks, and nearby towns, but so far, no solid clues have been found. In March 2024, community members organized a new search effort to bring attention back to Colin's case, hoping someone might come forward with new information. As of today, Colin Airy remains missing, and his family continues to search for answers. If you have any information about his disappearance, you're encouraged to contact the Maine Major Crimes Unit. Colin's story is a haunting reminder of how quickly someone can vanish, and how families never stop searching for the truth. On April 30, 2015, the family of 38-year-old Tabitha Lynch gathered for her funeral viewing at a mortuary in Tulsa. Lynch had died of natural causes. Among those present was Shayna Lauren Sims, who had apparently gained access to the funeral home under the guise of being a makeup artist who would help prepare the body for viewing. Witnesses soon reported something deeply unsettling: hair scattered on the floor, the deceased's makeup smeared, and what appeared to be a large vertical cut on the face of the body. As the viewing progressed, Sims allegedly reached into the casket and mutilated the body, removing both breasts and a toe, according to prosecution testimony. She also stole the deceased's shoes and was later found carrying a knife with the victim's hair still attached. Her defense would later raise questions about her mental state, but the jury found her actions beyond mere boundary crossing. They found criminal intent. In April 2017, a Tulsa County jury deliberated about 4 hours before finding Sims guilty on 5 counts related to the mutilation, theft, and disturbance of funeral proceedings. The charges included unlawful removal of body parts from a corpse, disturbing or interrupting a funeral, burglary, and receiving stolen property. On June 1, 2017, she was formally sentenced, up to 16 years in prison according to media reports. Her reasoning was that, allegedly, Tabitha had dated her boyfriend at some point. The case stirred questions not only about the security and oversight at funeral homes, but also about mental health, motive, and revenge. Some reports suggested Sims had a history of bipolar disorder and schizophrenia, though her competency to stand trial was affirmed. Of all the cases I've covered, this one disturbs me the most. Justice has been served, and Tabitha can finally rest in peace. In the summer of 2011, 20-year-old Blake Kepley boarded what should have been a memorable family cruise to Alaska. Instead, Blake vanished without a trace. Blake Kepley was from Fallbrook, California, known for being energetic, ambitious, and close to his family. He was on a summer trip with his family aboard the Holland America Oosterdam, sailing from Seattle toward Alaska. Around July 22, 2011, while the ship was moving from Sitka to Ketchikan, Blake was reported missing by his family after he failed to disembark the ship in Ketchikan as scheduled. According to investigations, there is no confirmed surveillance footage showing Blake going overboard. The United States Coast Guard undertook a search that covered more than 350 miles of ocean, yet found no trace of him. Given the lack of footage and the ship's overboard detection systems not registering an event, Blake's disappearance remains highly puzzling. His mother and supporters have pointed out that cruise ships at the time did not always have full-deck surveillance or robust man-overboard detection systems, elements which might have changed the outcome. Was it an accident, foul play, or something else entirely? There is no public resolution, and sadly, this case remains unsolved. In the fall of 2000, 18-year-old Colleen Elizabeth Paris seemed to have her whole life ahead of her. One ordinary afternoon in South Florida, she got into her car, said she'd be back shortly, and vanished without a trace. At age 18, she was finishing up summer classes, held a part-time hostess job at a restaurant, and had big plans. She even bought plane tickets for a vacation later that year. Friends described her as shy but strong-willed, with a love for singing, dancing, and sports. She did not have a history of running away. On the afternoon of September 30th, 2000, Colleen received a call on her cell phone while at home, near Flamingo Boulevard and Sunrise Boulevard in Plantation. Shortly after, she told her parents she was going to nearby Coral Springs to get something to eat and expected to return around 5:30 or 6 p.m. so they could attend a baseball game together. She left the house, took her white 1994 Mazda, and never came home. Her car was found locked, with windows rolled up, 6 days later, in a Tamarack Shopping Plaza parking lot near Pine Island and McNabb Road. Her purse and cell phone were missing from the vehicle, but there was no obvious sign of foul play at the scene, and rain had washed away possible fingerprints. Investigators were never able to trace who she was talking to. Numerous unconfirmed possible sightings were reported over the years: California, Alabama, even the Bahamas, but none substantiated. She was legally declared dead in November 2007, despite the body never being found. If you have any information about Colleen Paris's disappearance, you're urged to contact the Plantation Police Department or Broward Crime Stoppers. In 2007, a 14-year-old boy from Doncaster, England, left home for school. But instead of heading to class, he bought a one-way ticket to London and was never seen again. Andrew Gosden was a bright, gifted teen living in Doncaster, South Yorkshire. He was quiet, intelligent, and preferred video games and reading over socializing. He was also known as extremely reliable, the kind of kid who never skipped school and always stayed in touch with his family. But on September 14th, 2007, something completely out of character happened. Andrew woke up, got dressed in his school uniform, and left home like it was any other day. Only he never made it to school. Instead of going to class, Andrew walked to a nearby cash point and withdrew £200 from his savings account. He then returned home briefly, changed out of his uniform into casual clothes, a black slip-knot t-shirt and jeans, and left again around 8:30 that morning. CCTV footage shows Andrew arriving at the Doncaster train station, where he bought a one-way ticket to London King's Cross. The ticket seller remembered him because he declined to buy a return ticket, saying he'd come back later. Andrew arrived in London at 11:20 a.m. and was last seen on CCTV leaving King's Cross station. That's the last confirmed sighting of him. He simply vanished into one of the busiest cities in the world. When Andrew didn't come home that evening, his parents were frantic. Police searches turned up nothing. No phone calls, no bank activity, and no trace of him on CCTV after that moment. Investigators discovered Andrew didn't take any clothes, his passport, or even a charger for his gaming console. It was as if he planned a short trip, or maybe didn't plan at all. Over the years, several theories have emerged. Some believe Andrew may have run away to explore London on his own. Others think he may have been lured there by someone he met online. And some suspect foul play, that he may have encountered someone dangerous after arriving in the city. For years, there were no real leads. Then in December 2021, 2 men were arrested on suspicion of kidnapping and human trafficking in connection to Andrew's disappearance. However, both were later released with no charges, and the case remains open. Andrew's disappearance is one of the UK's most haunting modern mysteries because there's almost no evidence. No phone, no online messages, no sightings that could be confirmed. Just a single image, a young boy stepping out of King's Cross Station. As of today, this case still remains unsolved. In the afternoon of April 26, 2010, 16-year-old Ali Lowitzer got off her school bus just 250 feet from her house in Spring, Texas. She was texting a friend, but she never made it home. Ali was born in February, a vivacious teenager who worked part-time at a local restaurant, attended school, and lived with her mother in Spring, a suburb of Houston, Texas. She got off the school bus on that April afternoon at about 2:44 p.m. According to the family, she had called her mother earlier to say she might walk to work to pick up her paycheck and possibly take a shift. Ali left the bus, began walking toward her job on Cypresswood Drive. A witness reported seeing her texting. Shortly thereafter, her phone went dark. Her phone last pinged from a cell tower in her subdivision, but she never arrived at work, and there were no further confirmed sightings. Her disappearance was reported, but quickly the trail went cold. The case remains unsolved with many unanswered questions. Why did her phone go off or become inactive so soon after the bus stop? Why did she walk that short distance, about a quarter mile from the bus stop to her job alone? If she never reached work and vanished so close to home and school, how did no one reliably see or intercept the incident? Why has so little definitively surfaced after so many years? Ali's mother has kept the search alive through websites, billboards, and social media. Her family still hopes for any clue, even after more than a decade. On August 5, 2020, 42-year-old Benita Woody left her home in McKinney, Texas, and she hasn't been seen or heard from since. Her vehicle was found abandoned over 300 miles away in Oklahoma. Benita Tamaki Woody was born on January 23, 1978. At the time of her disappearance, she was living in McKinney, Texas. She stood about 5 feet and 6 inches tall and weighed approximately 170 to 185 pounds. Benita was known to often change her hairstyle by wearing a variety of wigs. On the morning of August 5, 2020, Benita was last seen in McKinney, Texas. Later that day, her vehicle was located, but abandoned on the westbound Interstate 40 near mile marker 113 in Canadian County, Oklahoma. Despite this, there was no sign of Benita at the vehicle's location, no clear witness report of her movement, and after that, nothing. She has not been seen or heard from since. Benita's case remains active and unsolved. No credible resolution has been publicly announced. Sharing her story keeps awareness alive. Because when someone disappears and the trail goes cold, the chances of finding credible witnesses or leads diminish over time. If you have any information regarding the whereabouts of Benita Woody, please contact your local sheriff's department. Imagine being 18 years old, finding out you're pregnant, and being told to meet with someone you trust, only to be lured into a trap. That's what happened to Kaylin Fiengo. Kaylin Fiengo was an 18-year-old teenage woman living in Florida. She had big hopes and a future ahead of her. She was smart, kind, and loved her family and friends. She became pregnant, informing her boyfriend with a photo of 2 positive pregnancy tests. She already had a toddler and was facing the challenges of young motherhood. On November 11, 2022, Kaylin was lured by her boyfriend, 23-year-old Donovan Faison, to meet at Coastline Park in Sanford, Florida. She entered her car and never left alive. Investigators found her body in the driver's seat, shot in the head. An ultrasound image of her unborn child was found nearby. Text messages revealed the motive. After hearing of the pregnancy, Faison sent her a photo, then responded with the word abortion when she told him she was pregnant. He was allegedly living with another woman at the time and felt pressure and suspicion of infidelity. When Kaylin refused to terminate the pregnancy, prosecutors say he decided to kill her. Prosecutors presented the text messages, the ultrasound image at the scene, and other digital evidence showing intent and planning. In October and November of this year, a jury convicted Faison of first-degree murder, murdering an unborn child, and burglary with a firearm. The jury voted 11-1 to recommend the death penalty. The final sentencing hearing is set for December 5th. Kaylin was manipulated into thinking her and her boyfriend would be celebrating their pregnancy, but instead, an evil monster took her life. In March 1977, a 16-year-old student walked the halls of McKinley High School in Honolulu like any other day. But by morning, her body was discovered in a school building, partially clothed, strangled, and sexually assaulted. Her name was Dawn Mamahara. Dawn Mamahara was your typical teenager. Friends described her as sweet, quiet but friendly, active in school life, and keen on academics. On the evening of March 20th, 1977, she told her mother she was going to meet friends at Ala Moana Shopping Center. But Dawn never came home, and in the early hours of March 21st, at around 7:30 a.m., officials at McKinley High discovered Dawn's body on the second-floor hallway of the school's W building, formerly the English/Drama building. She was lying on her back, partially clothed, with an orange cloth tied around her neck. The medical examiner ruled her death as asphyxia due to strangulation, and evidence also showed she had been sexually assaulted. A possible person of interest was sketched, and a vehicle described by witnesses, possibly a 1974-75 Pontiac Lemons, with a maroon bottom and a white vinyl top. For decades, the case remained unsolved. Investigators followed leads, but were hindered by limited forensic technology, fading memories, and few breakthroughs. In the school community, it cast a long shadow. How did this happen on campus, and how could someone leave without being identified? Fast forward to the 21st century. With preservation of evidence, the Honolulu Police Department reopened the case. Submitted samples for modern DNA analysis linked DNA from Dawn's case to a familiar match that led to the investigation of Gideon Bellamity Castro, a former McKinley High student. By January 2025, Castro was arrested in a nursing facility in Utah on suspicion of second-degree murder for Dawn's death. However, prosecutors in Hawaii later indicated the case faced complications, and charges were temporarily stalled. As of today, there has been no new information about this case. However, justice is headed in the right direction.